Hey, so I finished up the install on your OneReplicas SSLK. Got it installed with a removable chassis as well as a crystal chamber. So here's your SSLK hilts. You have the blade plug you included up there. Got a control box over here. So to access the internals, make sure that the control box is facing down. That way the plungers actually disengage from the switches. And then just unscrew the pommel. So once you have the pommel removed, you'll expose the speaker holder. So to unlock the chassis from the hilt, just rotate it counterclockwise. Because the chassis does have kind of like a J-lock-ish mechanism. And then once you want to lock the chassis in place, just rotate it, just push it in and rotate it clockwise. So to remove it, rotate it counterclockwise to unlock it. And then here's your removable chassis. So here we have a Proffie v3.9 in a dark kind of glitter green chassis. We got a 4-rail connector up there in gold. We have a tactile switch up here for the boot button. We have an accent LED strip over here with a panel over it. Kill switch over here. Battery holder. Got our 2 tactile switches here. Currently it's configured so that the main switch is on top and the auxiliary switch is on the bottom. Got our crystal chamber. This one I have printed in nylon, either at SLS or MJF nylon, so it's a much higher resolution than a home FDM printer. Got a quartz crystal point in there, and 28mm bass speaker. To remove the battery, usually I just pinch it by the positive end and remove it like so. So the battery holder is marked positive there, negative there. Got the spring side for the negative side of the negative flat side of the battery, and the button top side for the button top side of the battery. So to insert the battery, because my chassis does have a lip here, that helps to hold the battery in a little bit tighter. I insert it in negative side first at an angle like so, compress it, and then slot it into the positive end. Just snap it in place. So once you have the battery in, you can flip the kill switch on. So there, I'm not sure if it picks up on camera, but that says on in Arabic. So just flip it up. And the LED strip serves as a battery indicator. Right now it's kind of like a yellowish green, so maybe about like 70% or so on my test battery. We got our crystal chamber, which is lit up. It matches the current blade color, and since you only have this Luke font on there, so it's matching with green. If you change the color of the Proffie, or the blade style on the Proffie, it also reflects it here. I styled it so that when the blade is off, there's this kind of slow pulsing effect, and when the blade is on, it has the audio flicker. It also mimics some effects like blaster block as well as like flash. So this switch over here, this onboard tactile switch, is for the boot button. Because the Proffie board is at an angle, it's harder to reach the boot and reset buttons. In fact, on this one I actually removed the onboard boot and reset buttons so I can solder to them. So if you do need to put the board into bootloader mode, you'll hold down the boot button, the external boot switch over here, and then just toggle the kill switch. So toggling the kill switch is the same as pressing down on the reset button. So hold down boot, toggle reset to put into bootloader mode. And to put it back into what is actually configured on the Proffie, you just toggle the reset, the kill switch. So to insert the chassis back into the saber, make sure that the control box is down. That way the printed button plungers are loose and it's not going to get caught on the chassis. You want to make sure that this guide here at the back of the chassis aligns roughly with the control box, because I'm using the control box screws to actually align the chassis. So just make sure it's roughly aligned. You'll feel when it's actually like getting caught on the button plungers and the screws that it's not going to be able to be inserted. So just insert it, rotate a bit, wiggle it around, make sure that it's going through that groove or that guide. Once it's all the way in, so that the speaker holder is kind of sitting, it's pushed flush against the pommel threads. Now just push it in a little bit more and then rotate it clockwise. You'll feel and kind of hear the button plungers engaging with the switches.
I'm Luke Skywalker.
So now that we know the button plungers are engaging the switches, just screw the pommel back on. And here I've configured some gesture controls like swing on, as well as twist off. We've got smooth swing, as well as accent swing. The saber is kind of loud because it is outfitted with a 28mm bass speaker. So let's put a blade in here. So on this hilt, the blade retention screw is this up there. It takes a 1.5mm Allen key. So just insert that, loosen it, remove your blade plug. So the blade plug you provide, so actually in the emitter itself, I was able to see the NeoPixel connector deeper. So if you insert the blade plug, it's gonna like fall the way in there. So when you insert the blade plug and you want to lock it in place, just kind of make sure that it's sitting flush and then lock the blade retention screw in place. On this build, I did switch out the NeoPixel connector with one of my own because these ones have blade detect configured on it. I'll include the original NeoPixel connector you included back into the package. So I have a 1-inch test blade over here, kind of a dagger test blade. Just insert it. Make sure that's inserted all the way. Because this NeoPixel connector does have blade detection enabled, you'll hear a sound when the blade engages with the connector, and it'll play another sound when it disengages. So just make sure it's in, plays that blade insertion sound. A little bit hard to hold this with one hand, but lock the blade retention screw in place. So there you go. There's your OneReplicas SSLK hilt installed with a removable Proffie v3.9 chassis with the crystal chamber. So as always, thank you so much for letting me work on this hilt, and may the force be with you.